So, hi, Khushi. Am I audible properly? Khushi, can you please speak something? You are, I guess, on mute.
I am so sorry. Yes.
Okay. So, just to start today's session, all of you, you can switch on your cameras. And today we have a very special guest, very long relation with Khushi. And I was just scrolling LinkedIn and I was just seeing how maybe someone whom I met maybe 7 years ago, 10 years ago, where are they? And just her profile just came up to me, and I was very, uh, I was very glad she accepted this invite on the very first go because she's having a very busy schedule now, and the timing difference is also there. She's in US, so she's here to guide you all for some time to develop your pathway, her mindset. She has been a topper all across her life. Uh, she's from Calcutta, born and brought up in Calcutta, and then she moved to Delhi for the best college in India, and then again she has worked at various companies, as you all know. I have put that in the infographic as well. And after that, she moved to the world's best B school, right? So this is the ideal path that millions of students they aspire. But today we're going to listen it from straight from Khushi's mouth. So we welcome you, Khushi. Thank you so much for accepting this invite.
No, no, of course. And I would like to correct you. It's not the ideal path that folks should aspire to at all. Like, as I talk through, I'll talk through a lot of the decisions I took, but in no way is this like that's the one learning I've had, that this is not the ideal path under any circumstance.
Khushi, to start with, tell us something about your early life. Like, how was Khushi back then when she was in class 12, in college, and how did this all start?
No, that's a very good question. I think it's taking me back a lot of years. Uh, I uh, I think like just growing up, studying or like education was a really important part of my growing up, where like there was a lot of focus given on no matter what we wanted to study, we should just follow our passion. So, for example, like I have two sisters, and I took commerce in 11th, 12th. One of my sisters took science, one of them took humanities. So, it was never about a particular path that you have to take, but it was rather whatever you are passionate about, make sure you are uh, going down that path. So, even when I was in class 12, I think I wasn't sure which college I'll end up going to, or which exact subject I'll follow, but I just wanted to keep doing things that were interesting for me. So actually, that's how I even met Praveen Sir, because actually seemed like a really interesting part to explore, and it was very intellectually stimulating for me. So back then also, I think, and that thread has continued through my journey, where I try to see, okay, what is interesting for me, what will challenge me mentally, but will also help me grow. Uh, just taking that step at every point. So I think even though I didn't know it so specifically back then, I think it was still about making sure I'm following what I'm passionate about.
That's really great. So, like, you were from Calcutta, right? So you moved to
Yeah.
Delhi for your college. So, how was
Yes.
your experience in Delhi? As many students, they have just got their class 12 board examination results here. So, what was your mindset like, and how was your experience?
Uh, are most of the folks on the call from Calcutta?
Yeah, it's mixed. It's mixed.
Okay. Whether you're from Calcutta or not, actually, after moving from Calcutta to Delhi, I think the biggest, like, couple of things that I realized. Firstly, I realized how much bigger the world is. Like in Calcutta, especially, I went to Sushila Birla Girls' School, and almost everyone in my class or in my school grew up in a very similar background to me. All my friends were pretty, I would say all of us were pretty homogenous in the way we grew up, the thoughts we had, or like the way we thought about life, uh, all the comforts or the challenges we had growing up. But then I think moving to Delhi, and this is true not just for me, but all my friends also who moved to other cities and other colleges from their hometowns, you just see so many different ways of thinking about life, ways of looking at life. Like there was so much gratitude I developed for the way I grew up, or your just worldview expands so much, your aspirations expand a lot. So I think that was one of the, from a professional perspective, that was a big learning on how do you actually uh, success has a very narrow definition if you're just around people who've grown up in the same way as you. But as you broaden your horizons, you kind of, there's no one definition of success is what you realize. And I think even personally, like living away from home, and this is true for no matter which city you move to, there's so much personal growth and development that happens because you start now having to manage your own finances, even if it's at a small level. You start to know how to deal with people in the real world, where like you don't have your family's scaffolding around you. You just learn so many interpersonal skills when you're making friends from like all different backgrounds. So I think the personal growth also really helps you then become a person who can survive in any environment. And that's not just true for like my move from Calcutta to Delhi. Like even when I, and then I spent the next few years in India, and I just moved to the US recently for my MBA program, and I saw the same things as I described right now happen at a much larger scale, where now I'm having to learn the culture, or like my horizons are broadening even more, where now I'm not just surrounded by folks from India, but from all over the world. And how do they think, and what success means to people from around the world. So the more you keep putting yourself in challenging environments, it's going to be, it was really tough in the beginning, both when I moved to Delhi and when I moved here. But the growth that comes from it is also something that really helps you both personally and professionally. And you won't realize it in the moment. It's years down the line when you look back at it and realize how much character development and how much professional development happened just because you put yourself in uncomfortable situations.
That was really great. So, how did you actually develop? You must have worked a couple of years, right, before going for your MBA. So, tell us something about that, and how did you actually know that yes, you need to do an MBA, and that too from abroad?
So there are a lot of reasons people have, and like the reasons range literally from all, like you'll hear all types of reasons of why people, and I'll touch on some of them. But for me personally, I think so I knew I wanted to go for an MBA quite early on, like probably once I'd graduated from college. And that's because I just wanted to live abroad. I didn't know if I wanted to live abroad forever, but I did know that I do want to live abroad for a few years at least. So, in fact, even in my during the undergrad period, I had tried to apply to a few undergrad colleges in the US, but at that point, I wasn't sure if I want to move to the US just quite yet. But I did know that at some point, maybe for my MBA, I would want to move abroad. So I think it was a very personal reason where I was just fascinated by the idea of it. And also then professionally, I done consulting for a couple of years with Carney. I had done investing for a couple of years with Sequoia. And while those two were really fun roles, I wasn't sure if investing is something I want to do long term. So an MBA is like a very, and whether you do an MBA from India or from abroad, it's a very good way for you to explore what the other options are, and easier to pivot from any particular industry that you're in to a new industry. Because now when you're looking for jobs, you're not looking as an investor or as a consultant, you're looking as a student. So it's just easier to change industries um, through an MBA. But I know a lot of people come here for many different reasons. For a lot of people, it's about they literally just want to do a break in their professional career and just want to chill for, or not chill, but essentially, this is the last time you can actually be not working and just take some time to reflect, travel, meet a lot of new, grow your network. So a lot of people come here just for like a break of 2 years. A lot of people come here because they want to build their professional network. A lot of people come because they want to try starting a like trying their hands at being an entrepreneur, and it's like a good 2 year it's kind of like you're taking a 2 year sabbatical. You're using this time to like start up, but professionally it's not impacting your career because you're doing an MBA. So it's like there are a lot of different reasons. Everyone you talk to will have their own reasons for doing an MBA. But yeah, for me personally, it was I like studying. I wanted to move abroad and see what it's like to live in a new country. And I also wanted to switch industries. So it was a mix of these few reasons for me.
So, Kushi, when did you actually start? So, once you graduated, and so I know it's very, very, very challenging, maybe less than 0.5%, or maybe even lesser than that, people actually make it, those who actually start dreaming about it. So, if someone in this crowd wants to do that,
Mhm.
so what was your focus level? And what if you can just break it down in a smaller parts, like what, when should we start and how to go about it?
Tactically, so I'll tell you my journey, and then I'll also say what like maybe someone who's in a different spot, like what a typical prep journey could look like. So for me, because so what had happened was actually I had graduated in 2020 when COVID was going on. So for a lot of us who were graduating from college then, jobs like usually the starting date is July or August. You graduate in May, June, and then you start working in July, August. But because that year we had COVID, and COVID had just started then, so our exams got postponed to August. Like there was just very low visibility, and because companies were also figure navigating, they pushed out our start dates to. So instead of joining in like July, August, I my joining date was in December. So there was this 3 month period that I had where I didn't really have anything to do. Like I didn't want to do an internship or work because I knew I was starting work in a few months. So I was thinking on what's the best way to use this 3 month period. So one of my seniors actually, she recommended that why don't you just give the GMAT right now, because uh, the GMAT score, which is one thing, a lot of things are required for your application to the MBA program, but GMAT or a GRE score is one of them. And the good thing is the score is valid for up to 5 years. So you can apply from the time you get your score. 5 years from then, you can apply for the like the score is valid for 5 years. So I thought that there's no harm in giving it right now. My plan was to not invest any resources in it, in the sense that I wasn't planning on taking any tutoring or giving multiple attempts if the first attempt doesn't go through. In my mind, it was just I'll just give one attempt. I'll do the prep on my own, give one attempt. If it goes well, it goes well. If it doesn't, it's fine. Whenever I do think of applying for the MBA, I'll re-give the exam then. So I just used those 3 months and gave the exam. Thankfully, I got a good score, so I didn't have to give it further down the line. But even if I hadn't gotten a good score, it wouldn't have mattered. Like I would have just given it later when I would have applied. So I gave the exam then, and then you just start like I've started working. Didn't really think about the MBA very actively in the first couple of years of my career. What I was optimizing for though was I knew eventually I did want to go for an MBA, and even if I didn't, even if I decided to not apply, I wanted to make sure I'm not stagnating in my career. So while I did join consulting, I was also very mindful of making sure that I'm thinking of actively thinking of, okay, am I enjoying this? Can I see myself do this long term? Looking, especially what helps you answer this question is look at your managers and see, look at your managers, your prince, like everyone who's above you, and try to think, do you imagine a life like they have when you are their age? So that kind of like helps put it in perspective whether this is a career you want to have long term. So I think within a year, I was pretty sure that this is not something I want to do long term. So then I started looking for other opportunities. And again, the lens I was keeping in my mind was whatever I do next, it has to be something that's interesting for me, and it has to be something that helps me grow in my career. So from consulting, investing was a good next step where within, I don't know how many of you know here what consulting is, but basically management consulting is uh, you are hired by different companies to help them solve business problems. So from there, investing is was the next step in my mind, because in investing you're then investing the money that the fund has into real companies and helping them grow. So it's like you have more skin in the game, you are actually taking decisions that have real implications versus advising companies. So when I joined Sequoia, I think that was the main aim that I had in mind. And I think again, I, within the first year of my role there, I didn't really think about the MBA. It was more around, okay, again, do I see myself doing this long term, or do I want to move out after a couple of years? So I think by the end of the first year there, I felt like, again, I saw how my what the lives of my seniors were like. It was every job, no matter which industry or where you go, will have some trade-offs. Some will have, really good work-life balance, but maybe it might not be that intellectually stimulating, or it not might pay that much. Some jobs might pay a lot, but then you have to put in a lot of hours in the earlier. So every job will have its trade-offs. You have to decide for yourself if those are the trade-offs you want for yourself. So I think, again, when I was clear that this is not something I want to do long term, at that point I had two options. I could either then apply for an MBA and go for the MBA after investing, or I could then go to another job and, like, again, try my hand at something else. And at that point I felt an MBA would be a good good this is a good time to go for an MBA, because I've already, like, I would have done 4 years of working in the professional industries before going for my MBA, so that way I could get a lot out of the program as well. So that's how I then decided. Now, once I had decided I want to go for the MBA, so tactically, the things you need to do is, if I wouldn't have given my GMAT, that's the time 1 year before you apply is when you start thinking about giving the GMAT or the GRE. And I would say it would take around 3-4 months to give the exam. So maybe then 8 months before the application deadline, I started talking to a bunch of different counselors. So you have these MBA counselors who basically help craft your application, and because they've been doing it for a lot of years for a lot of students, they know exactly how an application needs to look like. And the reason I think a counselor would have been very useful for me was, essentially, in India we don't really do a lot of, like, long form writing, or even for application to colleges, we've never written application essays, etc. So the style of writing these is very different than what we've grown up experiencing. So a counselor just helps navigate the cultural things that, or, like, just culturally what an application or what a good application might look like. Having said that, I know a lot of my friends who did not a lot, but there were definitely a handful of people who did not take consultants and they still got through. But in my experience, I think having a counselor or a consultant really helps streamline the process. uh, so 8 months before the application deadline, I started talking to a bunch of counselors, and then figured the one that I wanted to work with. Then with them, essentially, they kind of, like, take over the application process for you, in the sense like they help manage it all. So the different things that go into an application are your college your college scores, you have recommendation letters that you need from your employers, you need to write application essays, you need to talk about your extracurricular, or just like things that you've done, your other interests, extracurricular activities, etc. And that kind of, like, makes up your full application. So once you then apply, another important step is knowing which colleges you want to apply to. So there'll always be a mix of, like, couple of colleges that you really want to go to, couple of colleges that you think are safe bets for you, couple of colleges where you're just like, you have an emotional, like, this just looks interesting to me, I might apply to these as well. So it's like a mix of 4 to 5 colleges that most people end up applying to in the first round, and there are multiple rounds of you have first round, second round, third round, so you can apply to different colleges in different rounds. This is maybe getting too specific for where you guys are right now in your journey, but essentially that's what it looks like. The only one thing that I would say to keep in mind, like, even if you're not thinking of an MBA right now, one thing that helped me later on was, like, I was so glad that I did it early on, was, no matter where you go or what you do, just try to give your best, or, like, and optimize for things that you really enjoy. So for example, in college, if there are if there are particular societies that you're interested in, go for it, take leadership positions there. When it comes to your cads within college, you don't have to, for example, in college, like I didn't really not focus on acads, but acads weren't my priority. So I still did well in them, but I wasn't trying to optimize for a perfect score in all my exams. But that's my point. Like, even if you aren't optimizing for a perfect score, try to do well, because in that moment you might think that, oh, like, college marks don't really matter. Or like, in your first job you might think that I'm anyway going to another company, first job doesn't really matter. Don't have that attitude wherever you go and whatever you do. Just make sure you're giving your best, you're doing what you're excited about. And because you never know how that plays into things you might need later in life. And that also goes true for like the personal relationships you build. Be a nice person, make a good strong group of friends, make sure you have a good reputation within the social circles. Because again, like, this will play in later, when you're this is more general, not just MBA specific advice, but even till date, for example, there are folks who might message me if they're trying to hire someone who I went to college with. They'll message me asking, hey, I saw this person, do you have any feedback on this person? So the things like this is something I wish I knew when I was your age, that no matter what, who you meet, what you do in life, just be the best version of yourself. You never know how it all comes to affect you later in life. Sorry, a long-winded
No,
answer
no,
for.
that was really insightful. And मेरे को एक जो आपका सबसे अच्छा बात लगा वो आपने बोला कि मैं अपने ऊपर वाले पोजीशन वाले लोगों को देखती थी कि भाई 5 years जो बड़े हैं, 10 years जो बड़े हैं, एंड मैं देखती थी कि क्या मेरे को ये करना है. So that's
Yeah.
really a very nice perspective to how we can look at things. And that's how you basically know also, right? कि भाई 5 साल बाद मेरे को यहाँ पहुंचना है. Will I be happy? So that was a really good perspective. Now, since I know that the MBA cohort is very diversified, right? So tell us something about your experience at Harvard and what kind of diversity you have experienced in terms of culture, in terms of maybe the people who are around you. Tell us something about that.
Oh, that's a very good question. There's so much, yeah, as you mentioned, there's so much diversity here in terms of everything. And so the way most of these global MBA classes, and this is true not just for Harvard, but Stanford, Wharton, Kellogg, Booth, any of the colleges that you look at, or even actually even within the European colleges, INSEAD, LBS, all of those colleges as well, what they try to do is they essentially try to bring together as much diversity as they can within the class. So for example, here we have 900 students. There's diversity in everything you can imagine. So from age, so there's literally a range of like the people. When we entered the MBA program, I think the age range was literally 24 to like 34. The countries that people come from, like I think there are, I don't even know how many countries, but easily like 50 plus countries that people come from. Diversity in the sense of income backgrounds. You have first generation students who like myself, whose families have like first one in our families to do a master's degree, to legacy students where like their parents or like their family members have been coming to Harvard Business School. Diversity in terms of industry experiences. So I think if you go on the websites, you can see like, the percentage of people coming from different industries. So, and then diversity in terms of aspirations after MBA program. So you'll see a lot of people who want to start up, who want to like go to like XYZ different industries. So there's just so much diversity and so many stories and so many personal experiences that you end up learning from. And how that helps is, like, for example, I'll give you my example. Professionally, I've already spoken about how that helps. Like, of course, you get to know so much more about like how different industries in different countries work, and like what are the aspirations that you could even have. Like, there are so many jobs that I didn't even know existed in the world before meeting my friends here who've done jobs like that. But on a personal level, so right now, if I look at like my closest friends here, of course I have like 5 6 of my closest like Indian friends, but then among my top like closest friends, one of them is from Argentina, one is from Japan, one is from China, one is from Los Angeles, one like, so you within your personal friend group also you'll start having these close friendships from with people who aren't, not like, let alone your same hometown, but not even the same country as you're from. And that kind of really broadens how you think about the world, because every country has such a different culture, and what they consider risky, or what they consider their way of looking at like what good or bad is. It's just, it really kind of builds a lot of character for you. And then it also has spillover effects on like the professional world, where like now I'm so comfortable talking to or like interviewing with any country, any company, anywhere across the world, because I kind of now I'm able to, it's easier for me to build judgment about people. So for example, what I mean by that is, when you're in Calcutta, it's very easy for you to, when you meet someone else who's from Calcutta, within like 5 10 minutes of the conversation, you can kind of know, implicitly know a lot about them, from the way they're talking, from the way, their background experiences, etc. Then when you talk to someone from Delhi, maybe you might not know implicitly how to think about them, but then if you spend time in Delhi, you start building judgment around, oh, if someone from Delhi is talking like this, that's, that's how, that's what their character might be like, or like that's who they are. And then when you start interacting with people from across the world, you start then building judgment across how do you actually know, or like how do you understand a person from anywhere across the world. And all of this happens so implicitly that you don't realize all of this, but just putting yourself in an environment with so much diversity helps you do that. And also, like, for a lot of people, I've also seen they just become so much more confident, because you're forced to interact with so many different people, and you're forced to, like, again, step out of your comfort zone. You have to academically perform in this diverse environment. You have to professionally look for jobs, look for roles in this environment. So it really builds confidence as well. So I think that's the kind of diversity I've seen, and that's how it's helped me through my journey.
That was really amazing. Now, coming back to what you said at the first, that it's not the ideal pathway. We want to know more
Yeah.
about that.
So there are, when I say ideal path, like, okay, let me divide it into two. So maybe there are folks who want to do an MBA, but they're like, okay, what's the best way, or like what's the ideal way to like do an MBA? So for that, I would say, like, if I just look at, and let's keep it now to like the Indian cohort that I have here. If I look within Indians, there are close to, I think, 50 to 70 of us here from India, like who've been born and brought up in India specifically. And the backgrounds of these people are also so different. So we have people like myself who've done consulting, investing. We have folks who've gone to the family business. We have folks who worked in startups, like for a few years, so like Flipkart, PhonePe, etc. before coming. There are people who've done in the, like large company jobs. So for example, we have a couple of folks who've come from ITC, couple of folks who've come from PNG. So all this to say, there is no, a lot of people try to optimize for, okay, I want to go for an MBA, so let me craft my path accordingly, because this is the only way I can get there. That's the myth I want to bust, that that's not true. Like, there are so many different backgrounds, and in fact that's what they want. They don't want 15 people here who come from exactly the same background, because that's not, when the admissions office is thinking of who I want to have in my program, they want to have different voices. They want to have people with different experiences. Even if you're from the same country, like, the diversity then would be in terms of the experiences you've had in the past. So there is, in fact, I would say, no one path that you have to take to get to an MBA program. In fact, it's the, like, it's what I said earlier, like, where are you are you being the best version of yourself that you can be at every step that you're taking? So for example, even when it comes to college, like I know a lot of people think that you have to go to the best colleges. That's not true. There are folks from like, so I think easily, apart from like the IITs, uh we have folks from SRCC, we have folks from like other DU colleges, we have folks from non-DU, non-IIT colleges as well. So, but the common thread across all these people's journeys are they've done things that they were passionate about, and they've tried to be the best versions of themselves no matter where they were. So that is the common thread. So that's what you have to keep in mind, that there's no one right path, but are you showing that you are going, you're putting the best foot forward and doing the best wherever you are. On the flip side, where I say that uh this is not the ideal path, and when I said that in the beginning, what I meant was even doing an MBA, like I don't think that is also the correct path for everyone. And again, what I mean by that is there are so many of my colleagues that have, if I talk about someone who's had the same background as me, so literally my colleagues in the investing world who did do consulting, who came from a similar college and did investing for a couple of years, they didn't come to an MBA. And that's to show that that's not the ideal path for everyone, even for someone who has literally the same background as me. And the times when that might be true is, firstly, like for a lot of people who know they want to continue being in India, I think there's a very real opportunity cost of coming to another country for 2 years. And firstly, like you are not earning in these 2 years, and then you're also spending for the program. So if you are very, so for example, if I knew for sure that I want to be in the investing world, and I want to continue investing, I don't think coming for an MBA would have been a financially or professionally the best option for me. Personally, it might still have been, and personally, it might still be basis what your motivations are, but professionally and financially, it might not be the best path, because I know I want to continue in investing. If these 2 years I'm not in India, I'm losing touch with the ecosystem. I am losing out on the 2 years of network building I need to do within investing, 2 years of the muscle of the compounding that happens when you're in the same job. So in that case, it wouldn't have been a good option for me. For a lot of people who know that, for example, there were few folks who knew they wanted to go work in startups right after this, or they wanted to start up themselves right after the investing, the few years we had in investing. And again, for them, maybe an MBA did not make sense because they already know what they want to do, and they don't want to waste 2 years not doing what they already know they want to do. So that's what I mean by like, don't do an MBA. Again, whether it's in India or abroad, don't do an MBA just because everyone around you is doing an MBA, or just because you need to do a master's degree. Like those reasons aren't good reasons to do an MBA. You should have either it should be a strong personal reason, where like it might, even if you're, let's say, I know a couple of my friends who went straight from SRCC to IIM Ahmedabad, and for them the reason was, I have always grown up looking up at like IIM Ahmedabad, and like that's my dream university. And even if professionally doesn't make sense for me, I want to go there. That's a valid reason. So like have whatever your reason might be, have a strong reason of yourself for doing an MBA, professionally, personally, whatever it might be. It should be your reason. It shouldn't be because people told you to do, or like that is the right thing to do. So that's what I meant by like this shouldn't be an ideal path for you if it's not meant for you.
So, uh, like you have been very consistent with studies, as you mentioned in your family roots. They are focused a lot on education. So, what do you think is maybe two or three the most important success factors you getting into the world's top MBA school?
Um, I think I think definitely like one of them was, as I mentioned, like just whatever you do, like make sure you're passionate about it. So for example, one thing that I was passionate about, that I've always been passionate about, is like mentoring and like helping folks, which is honestly one of the reasons why I immediately said yes for this event as well. But essentially, so I had that common thread through all my experiences. So for example, in my college I had started a consulting club to help folks train for consulting interviews as they recruit in their year. Then when I was at Carney, I was heavily involved with recruiting and like training new analysts who join. When I was at Sequoia, I was involved with this fellowship program we had where we give grants to female founders and we help develop them in the ecosystem. So that was one line or one thread that I had through my application, where I spoke about how like I am passionate about like mentoring, giving back, and how that's played out across my different experiences. For some folks, it like I know for a couple of my friends, it was there was one person who was really passionate about like the financial services sector, and he was so interested in it and so passionate about it that like the way he had it through his journey was in college he was leading, I think, the economic society, bringing in all these great financial ecosystem speakers. Then he went worked at a bank for a couple of years. Then he went into investing, and then within investing he was looking at financial services sector firms. So just again, like going back to like knowing what you're passionate about, and the flip side of it is you might not know what you're passionate about. Like I remember so many points in my journey, like in hindsight it's so easy to say that, oh, I like that was my thing, and like that was what was the common thread in my application. That won't, like, it's very tough to know when you're in it what it is. But if you keep doing, like wherever you go, whatever opportunities you see around you, go pick the one that interests you, and like keep doing that every time, and automatically then in hindsight you will be able to say that, oh, this was the common thread across my experiences. And that will happen naturally for you if you keep reaching for the things that you're excited about. I think that was one thing that helped me. The second thing that helped me was, again, like, are you showing that you are able to push yourself outside the comfort zone, and like have you put yourself in difficult situations? By that, what I mean is, for example, there was like, even within investing, uh, while I was looking at India investing market, I was also helping one of my partners set up our Middle East office for Sequoia. And that part of my application spoke about how I'm okay navigating an like a geo that I've never worked in before, or like that's like that is something that's I'm pushing myself. I'm moving outside the comfort zone. So even when you are in your professional experiences as well, like try to always think about, okay, you have your day-to-day job, but is there any opportunity that you're seeing around yourself to push yourself outside, or like differentiate yourself from everyone else around you? And this doesn't have to be from the sense of like, oh, if I do this it will help me later in life, but do it from the sense that, oh, I will learn something, and like I am actually challenging myself. So I think, and this is true for like most people that I've seen around me here, like they have previously in the past put themselves in, or like, there's always something different about, like, even someone who's like, there's so many people here who just did consulting for 4 5 years and came, but even in their 4 5 years of consulting, someone moved to the London office for 1 year, someone did, and you can do like an externship with like one of the like companies that you're advising, where you go in the company and work. Someone did that. So basically, wherever you are you taking these opportunities to do something, or like push yourself out of your comfort zone? And then I think the third thing that helped me was, um eh, on, and like this is a very underrated thing, but like most uh most places that you apply to typically do have an interview at the end, where they, like, that's kind of the last stage of the process, where in the interview they're trying to like know you as a person. Just, are you a nice person to be around? I think that is a very underrated thing. And like I have seen so many people who, even though they had like the perfect application on paper and like they did all the right things, because they didn't come across as nice people in the interview, like they didn't get through. Because at the end of the day, like, there's this myth, like so many of us here talk about that, before coming to Harvard, a lot of us thought that this is going to be such a competitive environment, and it's going to be like everyone's going to be out to get you. But once we came here, we realized that everyone is so nice and everyone wants to help you, and it's so collaborative. And it's not by accident. The admissions committee chooses for people who are like that, who are nice to be around, who will contribute to the environment and not, be competitive in a bad way. So like, just, yeah, be a nice person, and like, just don't try, like, one thing that I've again learned of like through my journey is success comes in so many different shapes and forms, and no one has to be put down for you to get ahead. Like, there is enough space in the world for everyone to do well. So just have that attitude as you're going about, no matter where you are, college, work, etc. Just be a nice collaborative person and try to like help everyone around you, and automatically you'll see that that'll pay dividends and you'll get ahead as well.
That was really exciting. My last question of the day, then we can open house for some questions, maybe two, three. Like, what change you see, Khushi, who just came out of school and today? So it's a very, very long journey. Like, people might
Yeah.
see, people might talk around you behind your back, or maybe sometimes you see, नहीं वो तो lucky थी, and maybe कुछ भी बोलेंगे, but
Yeah.
आपको मालूम है कि आपने यहाँ तक पहुंचने के लिए आपने कितने सारे सैक्रिफाइसेस किए हैं, एंड आज आप जहां पर भी हैं. सो when you look back, what change you see, and what what does one actually need, जो आज का हमारा सेशन का टॉपिक है, what does one actually need to reach out?
uh that's a very, and I think you will be better placed to answer this question because you've seen me back then and now. So like, you can better say what's changed. But if I look back um in my journey, and like, I don't know if this is because of just age or if it's just because of the experiences, but I think honestly the biggest change that's happened for me is I am now comfortable saying no to a lot of things, or like not operating out of FOMO, essentially being more intentional about what I want to do or what I'm doing. And by that, what I mean is, like, I remember in college, as you're thinking about which, where do I want to go after college, or like, what do I want to do? And like, while consulting was like a really fun role, I think my motivation for applying for consulting was not so much as, oh, this is a job that I'm interested in, but it was more around, oh, that's like the best job you can get after college, so you should definitely do that. It was lucky for me that I still enjoyed the job, but like, there was an equal chance where I wouldn't have enjoyed it at all, even like in the 2 years I was there. So now I don't think I'll ever put myself in a situation where I'm doing something just because it's the best thing to do, or like just because it's like, oh, that's what everyone does. I'm more comfortable now doing things that I want to do. Like, for example, even over the internship, like, I interned with Nike because I'm interested in consumer, and like, it's definitely not the most prestigious role. It's definitely not the most high paying role. So from all means, it's not the best in anything. But for me, it was the best because I wanted to be in the consumer space, and Nike is like one of the most iconic consumer companies. So I don't think 10 years back me would have done that, would have done something just because I want to do it. I've I would have been scared to make that choice. But I feel that that's one thing that I want to leave everyone with. I try to tell that to my sisters as well who are younger, that don't try to optimize for what the best thing out there is. Try to, like, and I know it's tough because we haven't, like, at that age we haven't even seen what the options out there are, so it's very tough to even decide what you are interested in. But if you know you are interested in something, don't not go behind it because that's not the best thing. Like, you will be much better off. Let's say you're interested in marketing, for example, you'll be much better off doing marketing, even if that's not the most prestigious thing. But if you keep following it, and if you explore it, maybe after exploring you realize that that's not something for me, you go on to explore something else. But don't not explore things, or like, don't feel that you have to do something just because it's common knowledge. And again, like, I know this will you might feel that, oh, it's easy for you to say because you are already like at like you've been through it, so it's easy for you to say. But that's not true. Like, I see so many people around me who took paths where they followed their passion, and they're still like doing, like, they're either in the MBA program, or like my friends who aren't in the MBA but they're still doing things that they enjoy. And I just wish I would have done more of that early on. So I think that's one big change. And the second big change is, there there are no rules to life, there are no rules to professional journeys. And by that, what I mean is, in India specifically, when we, like, the schools that we go to, or like the college experiences that we have, typically there's so many rules, and like, oh, you have to go to the placement cell, or you have to, like, there's always like a given path that you have in front of you basis what you've seen your seniors do. And like, this is the conventional path, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is how things are supposed to be. Essentially, I think what these experiences have taught me is, there are literally no rules. You could literally reach out to anyone you want, ask them for like an internship, ask them for a job, and like, you'll get it. Like, I think that's the biggest cultural difference also that I've seen between Indians and Americans here, where Americans just go get it. Like, if they want something, they literally just email whoever they want that from. Like, email, if you're interested in, let's say, there's a brand that you find really cool, email the CEO. Everything is available now for us online. If you literally Google the CEO's email, you'll get it. Just send them an email saying that you're a student, this is what you're interested in, these are the problems you see, and this is what you can help solve them with. You will get an internship, you'll get a job. Like, there are not enough people who are taking that shot. So, like, take that shot. There are no rules. There's no perfect way to land an internship or land a job. Like, yeah, like, more Indians need to know this, that there are zero rules. You can literally just do whatever you want, and no one's stopping you from doing that.
As far as I remember, back then you had curly hairs. Now you're straighten it. If I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that was it. It was really insightful. Now I'll open the house for questions. If anyone is having any kind of doubt, yes, Vishesh, you can ask your query.
Hello, ma'am. So, like you had
Good.
mentioned
Connect
that
to
you
me.
were very you were very passionate about studying. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
ever face a situation where, like, uh, in colleges, generally we see that whatever course we hear about, we try to divert our mind from one course to another. So, how did you maintain that focus throughout one course and
Mm-hmm.
eventually you cleared it?
Um, that's a good question. So, in my college, like, essentially, I had to pick a course before I entered. So I had the option between economics and BCom, and essentially, what I tried, again, like, just see what the future would look like and see if that interests you. By that, what I mean is, for example, when I was deciding between economics and BCom, I spoke to a couple of students who were like first years or second years, and I asked them, like, what does the course feel like, or what you have to do on a day-to-day basis. So what I learned was, in BCom, for example, at least in SRCC, in BCom there's a lot of like rote learning that you have to do, and there's a lot of like the subjects are accounting, tax, all of those. And in eco, what I learned from students was that it's not so much rote learning, but it's more around like applying the logic, and like it's more math heavy than BCom. And then I looked at my past, so like class 9, 10, 11, 12, and I thought about, okay, what were the subjects that I enjoyed, or like what were the parts about the subjects that I liked. So when I thought about it, I was like, okay, I liked studying about business and business studies, but I didn't like the fact that I had to learn so much in it. But I really loved maths, I really loved accounting because it was more logic driven. So even though I loved accounting, I didn't take BCom because the thing that I liked about accounting was you applying the logic. And like, honestly, that's one thing I liked about actuaries as well, where you didn't have to learn, it was more about applying the logic. And that's how I knew that, okay, eco is maybe a better fit for me, because that, like, the way you study, or like the subjects you study are more suited to what I was interested in. And then once you've made your choice, there will obviously, no matter which course you select, there will be certain subjects that you don't like and you don't enjoy. And it's just like you have to think of the larger picture there, where it's like, okay, even though I don't like a couple of subjects, I have chosen this, I want to do the best I can with what I've chosen. So sometimes you literally, you have to, there's some things you have to do, but then you find enjoyment in the other subjects or the other parts of the course to help you then get through. The only thing I would say is make sure, like, for example, as I mentioned before, college, within college, like, studies were never my number one priority, because there was so much more to do in SRCC. Like, there are a lot of societies, and like a lot of Enactus was one of the societies I was in, which took a lot of my time. So studies was never a priority
Sorry
for
to
me.
cut you. Just to inform you that Khushi has also won internationals in actors.
No, so yeah, it was exactly, it was not study related at all. It was more around helping communities. And so while studies was not a priority, I also made sure that, like, while I'm not getting a 9.8 or 9.5, I'm at least crossing the 9 boundary, so that it doesn't, come to like affect me later in life. So it doesn't have to be a number one priority, but just make sure you're doing well enough where, like, it's not a red flag for whatever you do later in life.
Yeah. One more query we can take. Yeah, Meru Shah.
Yeah. Hi, ma'am.
Hey, Meru.
Yeah, actually, I'm 22 years old. I'm pursuing actuarial science, and like I want to pursue MBA. Like I plan to pursue MBA like after a few years. So I just wanted to understand, like, are there any minimum requirements in terms of the job or GPA or otherwise? Like,
There are no minimum requirements, I would say, as such, like, as long as your story makes sense. So for example, I know a couple of folks who probably have like a, who don't even have like a very good GPA, but
mm,
they have a story on why they have that GPA. Like, was it because they were building a startup on the side? Whether, for example, in your case, maybe they were pursuing a different degree, which, and in that degree they've done really well. So as long as there's a story and you're able to explain why, what happened in your, like, your journey, as long as that makes sense, like, you, there's no minimum requirement as such. From a job perspective, they do want you to have professional experience. When you're like, international MBAs want you to have few years of professional experience, and that doesn't need to be in an office job. It could also be that you were trying your hand starting up, or maybe you were in the family business. But
right,
basically they want you to have professional experience, because in the classroom, it's, what you, they are thinking of you as someone who's coming and contributing to the classroom. So do
mm,
you even have those experiences which provide you that bank of experiences from which you can contribute to class? So I would say those are kind of like the minimum requirements, but essentially there's not such there's no like number that I can provide for it.
got it. Thank you, Miss. And can I just connect with you later in the future because
Yes,
hopefully
yes,
I'll need like
yes, yes,
more
yes.
mentorship.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So that was a really insightful session. Thank you so much, Khushi, for
Yes.
joining us. I was having all my years, like, even if you have a Q&A now, and you can, I will be the winner in that. So I really got some, I like to point out to everybody, if you have missed this, that one perspective which she talked about is कि आपका जर्नी यूनिक हो सकता है. इट्स नॉट दैट कि जो वेल ऑयल्ड पाथवे है कि आपको ये करने से ही ये मिलेगा. दे आर लुकिंग फॉर your story, right? And if it is maybe best enough, then they are going to take you. More importantly, abhi aap jo kar rahe ho, you need to be the best version of yourself. She stressed a lot on that. Again, one perspective which she gave was the kind of diversity which she is having when she moved to Delhi, then to the US. The kind of personal growth that she feels she has, because maybe whatever finances she is managing, maybe whatever things she is doing, because घर से बाहर निकलना एक बहुत important चीज है. लाइक सब नहीं निकल पाते. वो जो कंफर्ट जोन एक आ जाता है और आपके अंदर में आपको लगता है नहीं यार, छोड़ते हैं, छोड़ना यार. मतलब it's very difficult. मतलब maybe people might say you कि यार ये तो ऐश वाला चीज है, but it's not like that. You need to also hear out कि भाई जितना आपको पॉजिटिव दिख रहा है उससे ज्यादा उसमें नेगेटिव भी है. मतलब कि घर से बाहर रहना, फैमिली से दूर रहना, एंड मतलब यूएस है इतना दूर कि भाई अगर एक फ्लाइट भी लो तो आपको ऑलमोस्ट एक दिन करीब जितना लगता है, राइट?
Yeah, like that's a very important point that you mentioned, that no matter what path you take, like there will be positives and negatives in both paths. Like as Sir mentioned, like recently, like someone in my family passed away, and like I couldn't even come back for it, and like it was just horrible that you can't even go. I'm missing so many weddings. Like when I was in Delhi, also like my sisters were all growing up, and like I missed all of that. So you have to, like, no matter which path you take, there will always be positives and negatives. You have to decide for yourself which positives and which negatives are you all right with. Like even if I would have been at home, there would have been a lot of positives. It would have been very comfortable for me, but then I wouldn't have been able to grow or like have this worldview. So I think that's a very important point, that like no matter which path you take, there will be positives and negatives.
Thank you so much, Khushi. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, and
No,
thank
no,
you to everyone else. Like I know it's 8:30, like almost 9:30 now in India. So the fact that you all joined means a lot. Uh so please feel free to share like my contact information. So if anyone, if you all want to reach out with any questions, or if I can ever be of any help, please feel free to reach out. I'll try to reply ASAP, and wishing all of you all the best no matter what you do in life. The most important thing, and I've learned this after so many years, the most important thing is being happy, having a fulfilled life. No matter what happiness looks like, you make sure you're not sacrificing that for anything else. So all
thank
the
you so
best.
much. Wishing you luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, ma'am.